For as long as I remember, I've always wanted to have children. I grew up playing with dolls till I was probably too old to be playing with dolls. I loved caring for any children, animals, anything. I've always been in a maternal role. I've always really loved babies and kids as well. Just always been obsessed with babies. Anytime I see a baby out and about, I'm always smiling at it. I just love kids. And my friends have had kids, my cousins have had kids, and I've loved being around them and looking after them. There's always been a massive barrier in the way for me. And it's something I think about probably every single day, at least once a day, is that I have mental health problems. And so having children is very scary for me. Like I said, I absolutely always want children, and there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about the fact that I want children. But I have many things in the way. First of all, actually in pregnancy, I am absolutely terrified of sick. I have a phobia of sick. It's called Emetophobia. You might have heard me talk about it before. And the thought of being in my first trimester and getting sick, it's really scary for me. Getting through the whole pregnancy with all of the various things that involves your body not being entirely yours, feeling quite claustrophobic, feeling just like you can't really control the fact that there's a human growing inside you for 9 months. The thought of a birth. I have agoraphobia, so I'm really scared of having to go far from home to go to a hospital to give birth. But I feel that that's probably the safest place to give birth. I could birth at home, but there's also always a possibility that you would need to go into hospital, especially for your first baby. I know so many things about babies. I've done so much research. But the thing that scares me, I think the absolute most about having kids is passing on my mental health problems. I know that a lot of things like OCD can be genetic and can pass on to kids. Obviously, I think I'd be a good person to help a child in the direction of, best places to overcome things like OCD, but I also would just hate to see a child go through the things that I've gone through, especially knowing it could have been me that's passed it on. And I also think every single day I think about the fact that I might not be able to take my kids to certain places. Like, my radius is quite small of places that I feel comfortable going. And I think every day it's getting slightly bigger. And that makes me really happy and really excited. But I want to be able to take my kids on holiday or to the zoo really easily. And I don't think right now I'd be able to do that if I had a child. Then there's also the thing of, I think there's no one right way to be a mum or a parent at all. I think, parents also have stuff, that mean that it's hard becoming an adult and realizing, oh wait, like my parents had things that they found really difficult in their own personal lives, mine as children, that they were dealing with whilst raising children. And I think every parent has the same thing. They are not just raising children. They also have mental health problems of their own or trauma of their own, or things they find difficult, even things like work or just general stress of life. And I know it's so frustrating because I know in so many ways that I would be a really good mum. And I would really care for my child and do everything I possibly could to make their life a happy one. But there's also the thing of, what if I make it not so happy with not being able to take them certain places and do certain things with them? It makes me really happy to talk about this today, because it's one of those things that, while I'm very open about most things, I don't really talk about this very much because women just don't tend to talk about this. Like, we talk about when we are pregnant, about pregnancy, and we talk about our kids when we do have kids, but I don't think we talk enough about the fear around having kids. I think nowadays we are all more aware of trauma, more aware of mental health problems, which is a really great thing, but also can be a scary thing because we're so aware. We know the things that could impact a child. And so I think we're always second guessing and always being maybe paranoid about what could make a child's life happy or unhappy. Obviously it's not as simple as that, but I just kind of really wanted to open this conversation up. And I would really love to hear any responses of, if you're whoever you are, if you are not a parent and would like to be a parent one day, what are the things standing in your way? What are the anxieties standing in your way? I also know there's people out there, especially I think women, that don't want to have children and that also have to battle that, because people don't often accept that you just don't want children if you don't want children. And then there's also the people that don't know if you want children, but there's also this biological clock that women have that means that there's only a certain amount of time that you're able to maybe get pregnant more easily and avoid less complications. There's just so many things to think about. And it is honestly something I think about every day, but just don't talk to people about, because I don't know, I just think people will be like, well, I have talked a little bit about it to certain people. They can like, well, just when the time comes, then you can think about it. But that's not always helpful, because I want to think about it now. I think I also want to solve it now, which isn't super helpful, because you just can't solve certain things. And there is probably an element of just waiting and seeing what happens. But yeah, I would love to know if you're somebody that has anxiety around this subject, and what your thoughts on it are. What specific anxieties you have around having children or not having children. And thanks for watching. See you. Bye.